Welcome everyone to episode 344 of Just Joshing, my first podcast in Windsor, Ontario. I'm currently filming in a secret location. There's a laboratory, an underground bunker, and possibly prep for the long run here. As honestly, this has been a surreal week and a half for me. I literally was 2 days ago in Vancouver, and yesterday I escaped. And it really wasn't anything against Vancouver personally. It's more along the lines of the fact that I had to move. I had to make a choice. I could stay in Vancouver by myself and probably do okay, actually. But, again, I saw my sister yesterday. Saw my dad. At the end of the day, man, you gotta look at what's important to you. And for me, it's really about being with my family at this time. Because really, who knows what's gonna come up the pike, and I'd rather be there for them. All of them. Not just my dad or my sister, but my grandparents too. Both of them. They're here as well. So, Vancouver, I hardly knew you. I don't know if I'm gonna ever move back there again. I definitely think there was more to it. But it worked out the way it worked out. So now here I am. And here I am with part 2 of the Cloud Diver. So you won't count the 5 the same way again. Johnny finds himself following this girl into the cloud. And following a woman to a mysterious location usually leads to some kind of trouble. I'm not an expert on this sort of thing, but it seems to be the way it goes. But it's a lot of fun. And I hope you guys enjoy the read. So without further ado, let's just get right to it, shall we?
This episode of Just Joshing is sponsored by Indie Imprint. Indie Imprint supports creators by creators. Whether you are writing a book or creating a video game, Indie Imprint works with its clients to produce, edit, and present their projects to the world. For more information, check out their website at www.indieimprint.com.
Level 1-1, Chapter 4, Feed, Void Life, at Void Life Verified, at K-Blade Code. This crisis is not as serious as you say it is. Our experts assure us this is just a flu. That feeling of vertigo I always experienced when I entered the Dark Tower matched my first impression with this reflection. I couldn't tell if I was going forward or backward, up or down. For all intents and purposes, this was a dive within a dive. Unlike the dive into the Dark Tower, I was a little nervous. How long does this dive last inside this place? I thought to myself. My only real assurance was that I was going to get to the other side was that I saw her walk in. There was no way she'd go through a door that would kill her, right? This adventure thing was really for professionals. I had no idea what I was doing. A jolt of fire rolled up my behind. I yelped and hopped into the system, muttering 4 and 5-letter curse words. When I finished fondling my butt and making sure all was well, I looked around. I was surrounded by shelves and books. Thousands of tomes stared down at me in judgment. Titles ranged from The Tempest by William Shakespeare to a jumble letter similar to my apartment address. This was some kind of storage space of information from an ancient time, and it looked like an abandoned library. It was sticky in here, humid, and there was a faint odor of mold in the air. No gargoyles looked down at me in disdain, yet the place felt haunted all the same. "This isn't Kansas, I see," Stevie Y said, looking around. "What is this?" "An old operating system, obviously," my mouthy demon answered. "Beats me what kind. It's been around a long time, though." "Well, what came before the tower? There was the stairwell, the dump, the cloud. It could be any of those systems, or one of a half dozen others ever being constructed back in the day." Huh, he had no clue either. I had been curious about who she was and where she was going, but now that curiosity had turned to full-blown terror and panic. Divers knew the risk of testing systems. There occasionally were glitches, holes in the program. Programs and engineers have come a long way to make these programs feel real, but they have an out in case things go wrong. So while in my head I knew I was putting my life on the line, the truth was I was really in danger. But if my daemon, who had access to copious amounts of data, had at best only an inkling of what this place was, outside of whatever firewalls these ancient systems use, there was no clear idea what dangers existed here. So I did the natural thing and tried to turn and leave, only to find a brick wall behind me that pulsed blue lightning. My body felt a numbing jolt. My hand had felt outside. Apparently, the system from the outside only appeared intangible. The walls felt like solid steel on the inside with an occasional indigo pulse. I gulped. This place had sucked us in, and my tablet was still out in the entrance, probably still with the pristine green stylus telling the world that everything was just fine, which meant no magic button to pull me out. How are we going to get out of here? Hey, babe, a melodious voice called out. ASL? I looked to the source of the voice and found Stevie Y already grasping her hand in wonder. She looked like one of those busty women I saw in high school when I was in my porn-gazing phase, blonde, voluptuous, and promising a good time. What's your name, sweetie? Stevie Y was very perked up. I'm Candace, 19 and bi. Want to have some fun? Oh, baby, Stevie Y grinned. He turned to look away. This ought to be fun. I'll be back. I can't wait to deal with this ancient Trojan. I will never understand Stevie Y's insane hobby of acquiring Trojan viruses. This was some kind of spam bot. It's older and less sophisticated than the simulations I tested in the tower, but it's a bot. I watched Candace lead Stevie Y to a secluded place and him going willingly along with her. He was going to do his thing for a few minutes. In an effort to distract myself, I decided to peruse the books in this room and still my panic. I looked at the titles. The lack of organization was alarming. There were multiple copies of the Shakespearean books lined up in some spots, but there were also files with different three-letter formats on each spine. I saw something called a PDF. There were also files with TIFF, GIF, and DOC littering the shelves. File types from different eras, perhaps, or they did not have a universal file system like Void Life did today. I found the red tome from the shelf and picked it up. I could feel the grime of the dirt and dust caress my hands. I shuddered in disgust at the sensation. When was the last time I felt dirty? How long had it been since someone had looked out at the files here? Based on the dust I coughed out, it had been a long time. This was an abandoned place from an abandoned world that we had long moved on from. There was a surprisingly two-dimensional feel to the tome. I was told back in my grade school days that people used to get information from objects called books. The resource wars compensated all but a few that dwelled in museums and libraries. Had I ever turned a page? The experience promised to be a fascinating one. I tucked my hand under his spine and the book opened it. There wasn't much, just a letter. Michael, know you are loved. You have a place in my heart, a place not many people have found. I love you for the sweet, wild self you are. Take care, my man. XOXOXO, peace, baby. That took me back. Chapter 5. Feed, Void Life. Verified. Void Life has hired prodigy Valencia Zafire, age 19. Details here. Somehow, someway, she had found her way into my life and I had no idea what exactly I had done to deserve it. Your dinner's getting cold, Lisa said. Her hand caressed mine and my heart fluttered. It was so hard not to sit there forever enjoying the moment. I wish it could stay this way forever. Letters do have a way of changing your life. One such letter had come my way today and I hadn't told her yet. It was from Void Life. They loved my scores on my entrance exams. I had just finished school and wondering what I was going to do with the rest of my life. I found myself in a deep abyss of debt and wondered how I was going to climb out of it. And in my hands was my ticket out of here. The key word was my. Is something wrong? I hung my head, afraid to look her in the eye. It would have been easy to lie and bluster and say that everything was alright, but I didn't lie well. My heart was on my sleeve, especially for her. I shouldered a letter, not meeting her gaze doing so. I let her read it, let it sink in. All I could do while she read was stay still, feeling all the butterflies in my stomach. Would she hate me? She read the letter several times. Well, it's what she always wanted. Yeah. I felt terrible. I'd always wanted a job with a big corporation, and here it was presented to me. But only for me. I would have to leave all this behind. The contract called for me being alone and single for 10 years. Not only would I pay off my debts, but I'd also be able to accompany within the corporate umbrella. In this hostile, empty world, any kind of sanctuary was worth cold comfort. I feel terrible, I said. Why? It's how you want to live. But I also want to be with you, I thought. I said nothing. I could only cast my eyes downward. It is what I wanted, but I never thought I'd have to give her up. But it was the right thing to do, right? I had no clue who Michael was or who it was that loved him. Was it a guy? A girl? I hope they'd been braver than I was. Would my choice be any different today? You were right. Stevie Y looked a touch worse for wear than I remembered. The number 19 was now on his front instead of his back, and he had a silly grin on his face. His face was now covered in even more warts and red dots. There was a little wince in his walk. Whatever she had carried had impacted him. Yet for all I knew, Stevie Y would do it again. Oh, please, dear universe, I muttered to myself. Please, no more Trojans this adventure. That wasn't too much to ask, right? I should ask you the same, I said aloud. She was an amazing Trojan. An old broad, but some amazing tricks she could do, let me tell you. She was almost human. Almost? There were some parts missing. Missing? You had to be there to believe it, he grinned and winced. I'll need to reboot now. I'll be back in a few minutes. Try not to get yourself in trouble without me. Stevie Y gave me a peace sign and vanished back into my own personal hard drive. I promised myself I'd do my best to avoid trouble. I didn't want to move. This whole place felt icky and dirty and foreign. I didn't want to do anything but sit down. Only, if I sat down, I would be ickier and dirtier. I realized that I was a puss. I didn't want to do anything. I didn't want to feel anything, and I wanted to go home. When did I become such a baby? I was going to explore and not worry about things like grime and things that were natural. Well, semi-natural. It was a very real simulation, after all. Looking around at all the overwhelmingly loaded bookshelves, pondering what to read next, I noticed something out of place. A small wooden cube on one of the shelves. It looked like some kind of toy with a weird symbol I couldn't quite make out. This didn't belong in a library filled with tomes. Recognition and confusion warred with me upon closer examination. This symbol had been deliberately carved on the wood, and I swore I had seen it before somewhere. It looked familiar. Where had I seen it? I picked up to examine it closely. My confusion became pure terror when I heard the click of a gun as it was pointed to my head. The pressure at my temple made me wince. Put the Q-rub down. Chapter 6. Feed, certified, verified, void life. Feel free to make suggestions, comments of Void Life's policies and procedures here. I put it down. Walk until I say stop. I walk forward 3 paces. Stop. I stopped. Turn around. Steel underscored the velvet tone of her voice. There was an or else implied in that tone. I got a good look at the redhead I was trailing since this all started. She was smaller than I expected. Diamond-heart gray eyes stared right through me as there was nothing out of the ordinary. There was only the tiniest bit of tension in her stance. Her outfit was like something from a Victorian era. She looked like a video game character more than a real person. Who are you? The redhead caressed the trigger with her finger. She wanted to pull it so badly I could see the tension in her stance. Why hadn't she pulled the trigger? Could it be that this gun was a bluff? That it was more tool than weapon? I breathed a sigh of relief. Oh, this bullet will kill you, she said, making my tension heighten. This blade is more than it appears. Answer my question. Who are you? I considered my options. The tablet's escape option mocked me right now. If only I brought it with me. Feeling shy? She grinned. She had been in this place before. Her grin faded quickly and she resumed her hard-ass stance. I will ask again. Who are you? Or I will shoot you, and you will die. Was she bluffing? No way to know unless she shot me. I didn't want to die here, but I wasn't sure telling her my name was a good idea. If you don't tell me your name and why you are here, you will die in 5, 4, 3, 2... I'm an engineer in Void Life! I pleaded in a please don't kill me voice I didn't know I had. Don't you all play in the tower? It's a paycheck, I admitted. That honesty softened the steel in her face for just a second. The rational part of me realized I should be asking her the same things. What was she doing here? What was she after? Why are you here? I really don't have a good answer, I admitted. The 13th floor isn't supposed to exist. I opened it and I saw you walking on air. I see. Her eyes softened again and they turned inward. She seemed to be weighing my words in her mind. I blinked again, looking for my gloam-sized savior, and did my best to not sigh in relief when I found him. I opened Stevie Y in silent mode, hoping that she wouldn't notice. He still seemed a little woozy in my mind's eye when I gazed at him. Dude, what was I thinking? His thoughts rattled in my skull. I didn't respond. looking into the soulless eyes of a crazy chick with a gun, praying she hadn't noticed me working on my own escape. Stevie Y, naturally, was oblivious to my pending doom at first. "Why are you silent? Cat got you." "Oh, I see." The situation made Stevie Y go into his own form of silence as he worked on accessing the system's nodes and pathways. He had managed to get into the system, and hopefully he could find a way to at least get to another room nearby. "What's going on in there?" A light flashed in her eyes, and the gun was pressed tighter against my head. Perspiration trickled down my forehead. "I think I can get you away from her," Stevie Y said. It took every ounce of willpower not to squeal and show elation on my face. I was almost thankful the gun was on my temple. There was no way for me to let my attention fall to a happy place while she still held my life in her hands. Sudden movements might trigger my death now. "You need to give me a minute," Stevie Y said. "There's a floor above here I can send you to. Stall her until I can." How could I last a minute? You gonna kill me? I sucked at small talk. Small talk was significantly more difficult with a gun to the head when you're frantically seeking a way not to die. Thinking about it, she admitted. I like being the only one who knows about this place. But I thought asking this question might actually be beneficial for my well-being. Mentally, my count reached 10. 10 seconds down, 50 more to go. "Why did you follow me?" I stalled with silence. I was panicking, I admit. Should I tell her the truth? "Do I need to count to 5? Okay then, the truth it was. Just as it had the last 45 more seconds. I was curious. I gulped. Of? "The 13th floor," I gasped, catching my breath, finding it odd right here that I'm wondering exactly what I'm breathing in this simulation. I really hope this idle question wasn't my last thought here. "Ah." She nodded and moved the gun just slightly away from my head. How many seconds was that? 5? 10 maybe? My little back door. Must have been fate, I guess. She considered me one more time and pointed the gun right between the eyes. "You're gonna kill me?" "I'm going to kill you," she admitted. I did the only thing I could think of to buy me another second or two. I screamed. Not my proudest moment. But my screeching grounded her movements to a howl. "Ow!" She cringed. "No dignity?" "Dead is dead," I stated. "True," she admitted. "Boss," Stevie Y whispered in my mind, "get ready." I braced myself as I saw her finally pull the trigger. I heard the gun fire before an intense flash blinded me. When my vision cleared, I was no longer standing in the disgusting remnants of a library. I was standing in a garden with trees and flowers blooming around me. I smelled dandelions and pine. This, much like the library, was an unvisited place. I felt like I was disturbing it just by standing there. In the middle of this undisturbed realm stood an ugly bronze statue of a naked humanoid giant holding the scariest looking spear I've ever seen. Pure menace was staring down at me. The giant spear itself was 3 of me. His only eye was closed as if sleeping. Before I could sag in relief at escaping certain death, I heard a stone chip as the bronze eye blinked back into existence and the giant came back to life. "Who dares disturb my slumber?" His booming voice shook the room as he glared at me, his spear spinning in his hands. That fear I felt with the gun blade paled into comparison, and I suddenly wished the chick had shot me. I ran. What would you do?
I hope you enjoyed part 2. It'll be amazing to see if both my characters come out of this, because, you know, being what it is, you never know. Maybe I'll just kill one of them off in the next chapter. Maybe not. We'll find out, though, next time when we do this. But I kind of wanted to finish my chat. Yes, there will be next week. On Sunday, there will be a release of part 3. There shouldn't be any more crazy delays. I mean, who can say? We are in that kind of world right now where things are in flux. But part 3 is being worked on, I assure you, and it will be delivered. But it won't just be my story next week. I had a really fun thought, and originally it was going to be between chapters. So between chapters, I'd have another author come on and read a longer piece of their stuff. And then an idea clicked in my head, well, why let's limit it to then? What if you just did your story and let someone else read a piece of their story. And I thought that would be really good. Because as much as I enjoy doing these things, like 20 to 30 minutes for me, just talking just feels like, a waste of time. However, if I'm reading for 20 minutes and somebody else is reading for 20 minutes, we got a pretty good show and a good idea. And I promise you, it won't just be reading. There'll be some other things happening as well. My first guest next weekend is Rachel Neal. She has never been published before, but she's going to be reading straight to you, my audience, this week, and it'll be a blast, I promise. But I also have other names too. I already got my second guest ready to go, and I'll announce them next week. But this is going to be a lot of fun. This is going to be a different time. The world has changed. Like it or not, whatever was here before is just about to disappear, and there's going to be a lot of devastation. And I'm not really speaking about the virus. I'm speaking about a lot of dreams. There's a lot of small businesses I'm seeing where I'm at that are about to go completely under. Not just here in Windsor, but in Vancouver and other places. I think the worst thing about being able to be out there and witnessing everything firsthand, the fear was palpable. The fear, not just the fear of the virus and the disease, which a lot of people are reacting to right now, but when this passes, some people are thinking a little bit farther ahead than this right now. Well, how am I going to feed my family? And yeah, the government's coming to aid them, but if you look at BC, another meeting for BC was bring cash. $900 every 2 weeks is not going to cover rent there. It's just not. It's barely going to make a difference. You can afford food with that, no problem. But rents, forget it. A lot of businesses are about to disappear, and a lot of dreams are about to die, and it's really, really sad and unfortunate. Other possibilities for some people will hopefully open up, and in fact, that's what I encourage you. The world has changed, but regardless of that, everybody still has something they can offer. Look in the mirror. This isn't going to... Regardless of where things go from here, it's not going to operate the exact same way. So approaching this, what's coming up, what can you contribute? What do you offer? What skills do you have? And how can you translate them on the platform that exists right now? That should be the question each and every one of you should be asking. I don't care what's your profession. Every one of them can be translated online in some form or fashion. I had a friend of mine, she's an actress. Also she'd be a great teacher. She knows how to present herself in front of an audience. And that's a very valuable skill that a lot of people just do not have. Right? That's one way of looking at it. But there's other skills as well, other possibilities. And right now, look for them. Don't just look for what's happening right now. Look for tomorrow. Create new dreams going forward. That's it for me this week. So, if you want to support the podcast, you can do so a number of different ways. You can subscribe to the podcast. I am on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher. I'm on and Podomatic, of course. I am on every platform. Just find the Just Joshing logo, click on it, subscribe it, tell your friends. We'll have a good time. I promise. Whether it's stories like this or interviews with great guests. My books, The Watcher, Storm Dancer, Wandering God, are available at mirrorworldpublishing.com. They're doing an ebook special right now. If you got yourself $1, you want some really good entertainment, knock yourself out. If you don't, I get it too. Times are tough. There's lots of great content out there. Speaking of, my sponsor, Indie Imprint. Video games. There's lots of video games right now that are available free for you to play on your computer. I can't think of a better thing to do right now than to get lost in a world of a game. If you want to do that, check out indieimprint.com for more details. My YouTube channel is Joshua Pantalleresco. I currently have 299 episodes up there. Soon to be more. Let's see. What else am I missing? My t-shirts. jpantalleresco.redbubble.com. Like I said, I know money's tight, but if you got time for some merch, there's some useless stuff you can buy right then and there. I promise you, it'll look fun at the very least. If not, that's cool too. I get it. My Twitter is at jpantalleresco. My Instagram is at jpantalleresco. My Facebook page is Joshua Pantalleresco, author, podcaster. Stay inspired out there, and I'll be back next week. All right, guys, take care of yourselves.
Josh. Shush.